Welcome along to the Ever So Lean podcast. I'm Matt Sims. Each episode, we get a fascinating insight along with some useful hints and tips as I'm joined by some fantastic guests who all have one thing in common, and that's a passion for developing continuous improvement cultures that drive engagement, improve metrics, and reduce costs.
The Ever So Lean podcast with Matt Sims. You know it makes sense.
This episode is sponsored by Catalyst Consulting Limited. Catalyst Consulting exists to help people and organisations work better today and be ready for tomorrow. They have a rich history of igniting business transformation using business agility, lean, Six Sigma, strategy deployment, agile and change management. They can help you and your organisation to develop the skills necessary to work and manage differently. To find out more, check out catalystconsulting.co.uk. Today, we are talking employee engagement and motivation and how this is critical in a lean culture as we welcome our special guest, Debbie Green. Debbie has an impressive resume which includes a spell as VP of Human Resources Europe at none other than EMI Records, which over the years has propelled the careers of artists such as Freddie Mercury, David Bowie, either a Bowie or a Bowie, I'm a Bowie, Peter Gabriel, and more recently huge artists like Justin Bieber, Lewis Capaldi, The Killers, Katy Perry, and Taylor Swift. Debbie is now the owner and founder of Wishfish Coaching and Development, co-host of the Secrets from a Coach podcast. All this whilst also being an established and respected coach and facilitator. Debbie is an experienced coach with a demonstrated history of working in a professional training and coaching arena, skilled in wellness coaching, executive development, team coaching, training design, management, organisational development and recruiting. Debbie is a strong business development professional with a passion for enabling people to shine. Debbie, thank you for joining us today.
Wow, thank you, Matt. That sounds incredible. I get you to write my CV next time. That's amazing.
You sound so important.
I know, I do. Who's that you're talking about? It's brilliant.
I should have put you a round of applause in there, like you're coming on stage. That would have been really good, wouldn't it?
And then I'll run off again, yeah. Avoid the limelight if I can. That's the thing.
How are you? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. Yes, you?
Yeah, very good. Coming down off of the sort of the big build up to Christmas. You're rushing round, it's all magical, and then as soon as Christmas is done, it just loses its sparkle, and you're like, done now.
Yeah, done now. Move on. Yeah,
Tree
let's
down.
get into the new year. Yeah, mine came down, I think, on the Thursday after the Christmas, whatever date that was. I've completely lost track of it. So all down, all clean, put away.
I'm normally the day after Boxing Day type of person.
Yeah, what is that? We just like clean. Yeah, get rid of everything.
Yeah, do you know what? Although I left it up a little bit longer this year because of the tree lights are cheaper to run than the normal lights. And they were lighting the room.
Yeah, that's true. Did they give you heat? That's the other thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point. I
That
didn't
warm
think
glow.
of that.
Yeah.
I'll get the tree back up. Get the tree out. Get it out.
Brilliant.
Get it back up. Right, Debbie, you have an amazing career history. Tell us a little bit about what you've done. This is brilliant.
Oh my goodness. So I originally started way back when in the 80s, I suppose, when I first started as a medical secretary. So didn't know what I wanted to do, like most people do. Just went into the local polytechnic in London and went, what have you got left? Because I was really late. I definitely wasn't organised, definitely wasn't planned around that, and ended up typing in shorthand and then taking that into the world of medical. So I started off in the NHS working for an amazing lady who was just an inspiration, who inspired me to sort of get into the world of personnel as it was then, or HR as it's called now. And from then it sort of developed my love of people. I've always loved people and being really curious and inquisitive, but she really promoted that ability in me to go, keep asking, keep exploring, keep finding out what people do, what makes them tick, how do we engage people. Even back then she was talking about motivation and engagement, and so she was an inspiring lady, and I was so glad she was my first boss because she set me up for success. And so anybody that, as I went through my career, didn't quite meet that criteria. Back in the 90s, you could just move jobs, either through redundancy. I had 11 redundancies in my whole career before I went out on my own, which is like madness, right? But you'd move on. You could find another job somewhere else. So I moved from there into the BBC and did a stint there in personnel and HR, which was amazing. And then moved on to go back into hospitals and did some work back in them. Then went to work for Liberty Retail in Regent Street, which I loved, and left there in, I think it was about 1994. So I had my son, and then went on to work for different organisations. A real eclectic career, but always in the world of people and HR. And then eventually ended up at Telewesters, which is now part of Virgin Media. For those that are out there that will know, oh my God, Eurobell, who know the days of a cable company.
Yes.
Do you remember them?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
So I then ended up in there, and another amazing lady, Sian Evans, sort of pushed us, if you like, into learning and development and said, I think you could do this. And then that's how I ended up doing training and development, making myself redundant, as you do in when people are going through change. So that was the start of this whole world of coaching, working with different people, engaging with people, understanding what motivates people, what turns them on, what turns them off. But she was the one that sort of gave me the opportunity to practice, if you like, and get my qualifications, and really inspired me to keep moving forward and exploring what it was. So I suppose when I got made redundant again, I decided that I'd set up my own business. I set up Wishfish back in 2005, and the rest, as they say, is history. So Wishfish was born, and I love it. I love every bit about it, and it's evolved over time to, I work with a team. As you mentioned, I co-host on a podcast with my colleague Laura Thompson-Stavely, and we met about 11 years ago, and that was a match made in heaven. So she's my work wife, and then we've just gone on to work in the world of learning and development and coaching, and yes, that's it in a nutshell.
Do you know what? I had to listen to your podcast, and you gel together so well, the pair of you. You're having a natter. It's like, I can imagine you've got a cup of coffee in front of you, and you're just having a natter.
Yes.
It's really good.
Yeah, we met in a Costa at Victoria Station. I was looking, of all the places, it's the power of the network, right? And building relationships and how important it is to keep the network going, which is what I've always done. Obviously, you know, people that might have been in a similar position for me, who've got made redundant over years, people then go on to other companies and other jobs. And if you've had an impact on them, and I think if you've built that good relationship with people, then when they need something, they reach back out because there's a trust in what you're doing, and they know that they can rely on you to deliver what they want. So fortunately, I needed somebody to do some sales training. I'm not a sales trainer, and I got introduced to Laura, and then we met at Victoria at Costa, and that was it. It was like everybody must have looked at us and gone, what the hell is that going on?
It just clicks sometimes, though, doesn't it, with people? And it's interesting the point you made around, you know, your first boss, your first leader inspired you. I think that cannot be underestimated, the amount that we pick up from people we work for, and even the bad ones. I think I've learned some of the best ways of being a good leader from the poorest leaders that I've worked for. It's so important. Really
is important. And I think, as you said, you're first in everything. When we talk about employee engagement, it's that, you know, the experience you have of your first boss or your first team leader will make or break your relationship with the next one that comes along. So when we're thinking about, how do we engage with our employees, actually it starts with you. It starts with, who are you, knowing what you're good at, what you're not so good at. I think it's really important for people to recognise the talent in others. And we always talk about, from a wellness perspective, what do you notice and care about other people as well, so that, you're not just going through the motions, you actually genuinely care about the people around you who may be with you for years, they may be with you for 6 months, but if you've left such an imprint on them and they remember you, oh my God, they will always remember you as that good boss. But you're right, the bad ones are the lessons, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I look back at some of my first bosses and think, how were you a boss? What were you doing? Like, what is that all about? Crazy.
I know. I think that was, as I mentioned, back in the 90s, I walked into a job, which I won't name the company, but I was outside and the boss at the time would shout literally from his desk across the office to whoever he needed to come into the office. And I stood there and I went, what? Is this just really happening at the moment?
Yeah.
And I just went, is he always like this? And they went, yeah. So I went, I'm not having this. So off I went. I just didn't go back. So
yeah, I don't blame you.
I couldn't do that now, so.
Yeah, do you know what? You just triggered a memory. One of my first leadership roles was at a company where a group of people had to get together at a certain time of the day, and they had to sort items from one part of the warehouse into another part of the warehouse, and they'd have to walk around doing it. Right. And no word of a lie, my job as the leader was they they're in like a ball ring, all standing around together, like chickens walking around in a hen
Yeah.
farm. And I used to literally have to just stand in front of them with my arms crossed, just stand there watching them do the work. And that was the way, that was the
Wow.
culture and the way that it was. And
Yeah.
because everyone else did it, I thought that's what I had to do. And I'd spend all day just standing in front of them, watching them. And these were grown men, some of them double my age. And I look back now and I think, what is that all about? That's terrible.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? But you could argue that, you didn't know any different as to how it was meant to be. It's quite hierarchical, I suppose, when I first started in the world of work. And I've watched it evolve, but then I've had some really good role models. And I've been really fortunate to work with some amazing people as peers that have all wanted something very similar. They've all wanted people to be their best. So I suppose I'm very fortunate to have been surrounded by, most of the time, by people that genuinely want to invest in people and want to see them shine and be their best self, which I don't know whether that's I've just been drawn to that, because it fits with my values and my purpose. So now I'm quite determined to make sure that I continue to do what makes me happy, what motivates me and brings me the energy to get up every day. Being self-employed, it's tough. It's not easy to consciously keep working on your business and in your business. And you wear this dual hat, I suppose, of one, I've got to have a pipeline coming through and I've got to have business, but also I've still got to love what I do. And so therefore I'm not the best, maybe as planned, as organised as I can be. So when you talk about that lovely world of continuous improvement and lean, I'm always continuously improving. So yeah.
The thing is, when you're self-employed, if you don't do it, nobody else is going to. You've got to
exactly.
have that motivation, haven't you?
Yeah, you definitely have. One of the things we always talk about is making sure you tap into your passion and what is important for you. And not everybody finds that straight away. And, one of the big contract we did for Heathrow Airport, actually looking at purpose and values, it was amazing because people were starting to tap into why do they get up every day, what motivates them to want to come to work, and start to identify what's their values, but also what's their purpose in life. And I was very fortunate to be handed over the baton to carry on as the lead facilitator across and rolling that out to thousands of people, to be fair, and listening to their stories and how they came to be was, oh my God, it just lit my heart up. It was absolutely,
Wow.
I was meant to be doing what I do. It was amazing.
As I've got older and perhaps wiser, I think there's nothing more rewarding than watching people develop, helping people, go from A to B, come out of themselves, gaining confidence, get promoted. It's just such a rewarding experience to see that. I love that.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's the bit when you think about people say, what's the benefits of employee engagement and why should we engage with our employees? Well, they're doing everyday jobs that make you look good. So why would you not? So we always question it. And I suppose with my experience over years of doing different roles and working in different environments, you certainly pick up how you can impact and influence on people. And a lot of that comes from, whether you want to, can you be asked to, and do you care enough? It comes back to that caring. And Laura and I've found this amazing African proverb, which I know you would have heard of, Matt. It's this one that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And for me, that just sums up that whole bit is, if you want to engage your people, making sure that they're with you, the benefits of employee engagement. I think as we focus through this crazy decade that we're in at the moment, where there is lots of change and there's lots of conflict, I think, and a little bit of disharmony in some areas because people are still deciding, how they want to work and what's important for them. We need to be able to interact really well with everybody to maximise the team potential, I think, which is really important. And how we engage and energise and inspire others to work as one team can be absolutely pivotal for the years ahead. So whether you are hybrid, virtual, real, a mixture, whatever that looks like, I think it's really important that, to create that team engagement, we need to be able to connect really well. We need to express what our thoughts and feelings are. And I think we also need to be able to build good relationships with others, because I think it's all about the relationship. I remember my dad saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, really, is it? And I go, yeah, it really is.
It is,
if you
isn't
can
it?
build that, it is. I think you need to have that connection with people. You genuinely need to care about people in order to get the best out of people. And if you don't, then I say you shouldn't be in a management role, because management is all about people.
Yep.
So which is is important.
That's one of the wonderful things about a lean culture or a continuous improvement culture is that it involves the people. So it doesn't, it's not a management practice. It's not management saying this is what we need to do, go away and do it. This is
Yeah.
people that are doing the jobs, that understand the processes. Their opinion counts and they're being heard. And that's so important. Do you know, one of my pet hates is when I walk into a business and I walk into the reception, you look up on the wall and it's got like the wall of who works there.
Oh my gosh,
Oh,
yeah.
nothing annoys me more when you see like the leader at the top and it's like a pyramid,
Yeah.
and below them you've got their managers, below them you've got their managers, and then right at the very bottom you've got all of the associates or the people that do turn it up the other
Yeah,
way.
turn it out the way. Yeah, the upside down triangle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really annoys me because it's basically just says I'm really important, and you guys down there, you know, you're not really
Yeah.
important. I went into one place once, no word of a lie, the pictures of the people got smaller as they went down the pyramid. So by the time you got to the bottom, there were tiny little passport photos.
Oh wow, that's really bad, isn't it? That's one
Terrible.
way to really not engage your people as they
Yeah.
walk through the door every day. That's what they're going to see. So subconsciously, that message of "well, you're not that important to me" is going to be being underpinned probably in everything that they do. Now,
Awful.
yeah, that'd be an interesting one. Really bad.
Yeah, I'd love
Oh,
to
yeah.
look into what their, you know, their experiences and their turnover of staff's like in a place like that.
Yeah, you could do a study on it and just see the importance of
Yeah.
turning that triangle upside down, as you said.
Yeah, I always say that. I always turn it up the other way because it's super
Yeah.
important. So one of the other things that I'm quite passionate about, and I think we share an interest here, is the psychological safety space for people at work within a business. So psychological safety is all about people not feeling that they're going to be judged or frowned upon for speaking up, or, you know, feeling comfortable to speak out about ideas and not being afraid to fail, because continuous improvement is all about failure. And as human beings, we learn most when we fail.
We do, but not everybody will let you do that. I think certainly in my experience of working with different people, you know, part of our role has been to, if you like, give some development and training to first line managers, you know, frontline, first time ever, stepping in from that team member to team management position. And like you said earlier, that perception that they had of, do I just stand around and demand and control and command what's going on? Like a bit like, as you said, you're walking around the ballroom
Yeah.
type thing. Like, whoa. And we go, no, you first of all, it has to start with you. You have to think about, who am I as this leader or manager, supervisor, whatever your job title is. I'd ban job titles if I could, because it sets people up for a bit of failure sometimes, because people go, oh, they're my boss,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, no, but they're just another human being. And so we always encourage people to say, go back to the basics, as we said, you know, really go back and understand, you know, who are you, first of all. It starts with you. But who are we as a team? And if we can start to agree how we're going to be together, how we're going to work together, you know, when we can make mistakes, what's going to happen? So you agree, if you like, what we call in coaching as well, the contract of how we're going to work together in this moment. And then it's really important for everybody to be clear on what that is. Clarity and being clear on the expectation, I think, is so important. And a lot of, you know, early managers forget that bit. They just assume that people know what they want. And it's like, no, you've got to have dialogue. You've got to communicate. You've got to ensure that you understand what they understand about what you want. And if you don't, then you're already on a hiding to nothing. So, you know, that bit about getting to know your people and creating that safe space in which mistakes are okay, because it's then picking that person back up and saying, you know, so, you know, what went well? What would you improve next time? What would you do maybe differently? Is there anybody else that you need to get involved? Is there anything else I can do to help you that I maybe haven't done? So again, it's very much I believe from a coaching approach, really, where you're getting them to tell you what they need rather than you're telling them what they need, because that's a bit of a turn off for people sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. When I look at leadership now, I don't know if it's just me seeing it like this and I'm just, as I'm growing, or whether this has actually happened, but I feel like leadership has grown more from a dictatorship into a coaching role now.
Yeah.
I was brought up to believe the boss tells you what to do and you just do it, no questions asked.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like it's like that now. I feel very much now like it's a collaboration and you're very much involved in, you know, make people part of the solution, not
Yeah.
part of the problem. I think it's a really
Yes.
important piece. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, oh my God, I 100% agree with that. And for those managers that, if you like, have woken up to that and realised that in order to get the best out of my people, you know, I need to be able to understand them better, know what turns them on, what turns them off, know what their likes and and dislikes are, know what they need from me as their manager leader to be able to get the best out of them so I can unlock that potential. And I know that's a cliche, but actually I think that's what happened to me. My boss at the time back in the 80s, unlock your potential wasn't even a buzzword in the world of business words, as we always call it, leadership bingo words. So whereas now it's sort of blazoned around like, oh yes, I'll unlock your future potential. And I always say to people, what does that mean? That's great, but it's a bit like, as when you write words on a flip chart about what type of leader do you want to be, and they write honest, transparent, caring, all those lovely words that as we call leadership bingo words. And I always say, so what does that mean? How do I know that that's what you're doing? How will I know that actually these are not just words on a flip chart? These are actually words about who you are, rather than just give me the bog standard. So as you can appreciate, when we walk into a room and deliver some leadership training, it can be a bit of a shock for some people because they're not expecting us to challenge, I suppose, or I always like to call it about disrupting their current thinking into what do those words actually mean, because they've been bandied around for years, 30, 40 years. And so people just spew them out and they don't really understand or stop to reflect and go, what does that really mean for me? But what does that really mean for my teams as well? And I think that's the way you can get engaged and inspire your team if you take time. And we say that, the biggest gift you can give to your teams is your time and recognition. Time to talk and find out what's going on, but also recognition that they exist as a human. Don't just overlook them. A bit like your little tiny pictures that were in that reception. That's like, whoa, that's what people want. And they go, but I haven't got time because I'm doing the do, as you said. I've got management, a task driven. Yes, there is an element of that, but to be a great manager, that's what you need your team for. So how do you engage your team, as you said, to bring out the best in them? We all bring knowledge and expertise. We all come with a backstory. Do you know what your team's backstory is? Do you understand where they've come from to get them into your team today? And if you don't, then my suggestion is always go and find out, because you may be blown away with the absolute gifts that person can bring to your team. But because you've just gone from a job description or a job title, you've boxed them off into this job, or you just do that. Don't step out of that, because that's what are you on about? And I think for people that see past that, and yes, there's a job to do and absolutely stay within that, but actually it's the what else. It's that what's the development you're giving to your team. I think that's what people are looking for, is you genuinely care, and I probably can count on, maybe one hand the amount of leaders that I've seen in my time working with different organisations that really inspire their teams. And unfortunately, sometimes they're a little bit maverick, I think. They're a bit out there. They challenge the norm, which is what I used to do. I was used to get told you'll never be a HR director because you challenge the process too much. And I go, but isn't that what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Isn't that what I'm paid for? No, we want you to fit into this little box of only do what you can, what you're supposed to do, not add value type thing. Okay.
I was on an interview panel once with a number of other leaders, and one of them was with a HR business partner. And at the end, after doing all the interviews, you get together and you have a chat about the candidates. And during the chat about the candidates, and this was about 8 years ago, the HR business partner turned around to me and they said, "You're a HR risk. You're on the list."
Brilliant.
Target on my
and did
back.
you like it? Target on your back. That's a good place to be. I'm with you on that, because that's where you disrupt the norm, right? Because that's, I think if people don't embrace what's coming through, or they're not have that growth mindset to keep on learning and keep on developing and, learn from their people. If you've been in a manager's role for, 15, 20 years, you forget sometimes what it's like when you start in a new organisation. So I love that programme that used to go back to the floor when it first started, where they really got to see what it was like, and then how they made some changes. But I think, it takes a really special leader, manager, boss to step out of the expectation of being this, leadership bingo words person, and being yourself, being your authentic self, which I think is really, really important when it comes to employee engagement. So you're practicing what you preach, you say what you're going to do and you do it, you're congruent with who you are. I think your values are aligned and people can see that even though they may not know you well, your perception and what you're giving out to your team, that's what they're going to see. And if you're not true to yourself, then they're going to see straight through you. So yeah.
Yeah. What's that program where they stick on a wig and they go, it's like Undercover Boss. They stick
Is
on a
it something
wig.
like that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they go
that's
into
it.
the
Yeah.
operation and then they, no one recognises them because they've got blue hair rather than
Yeah.
normal white hair or whatever it is. It's so funny.
Yeah.
But you're right. You don't have to talk in business jargon to your team. Talk to them normally. Talk to them like human beings in a way that each of you understand. You'll get a much better result for it, won't you?
Yeah, you definitely will. And I think that's the bit where people, I don't know whether should I do that? I sometimes get asked in one-to-one coaching with, new managers or managers that are moving into a different team. They're little, maybe lost their confidence along the way because with the lovely COVID and everything else that went on around that, a lot of people did lose their jobs. And suddenly they were having to reinvent themselves. And the authority that they may have had prior to that, suddenly they were going in at a very different level. So doing some one-to-one with people to build their confidence back up, they're still the same person.
Yeah.
They've had experiences that have shaped them, and we all have experiences that shape us every day. But actually, that didn't change who that person fundamentally was. So, being able to ask them some questions, I think, was something that really got them to think. And a couple of the people that I work with went on to say, I took your questions and asked my team when I got there. And I said, oh my God, that's amazing. Because I just pass on my knowledge and people can use it. And if they do, they don't. But it normally is what they choose to do. And I love it when they come back and say to me, I used what you did to me, I did to my team. And the difference it made was incredible. And, some of the questions to be able to explore, I suppose, what's going on for people is really important. And so therefore, as a team, you can do this where we ask you to think about when do we feel alive as a team. So for those of us that are, wanting to mix up our team events and general chat, check in with them and things like that, when do we feel alive as a team? Do we feel that? I'm not
Friday
sure.
night.
Friday night. What makes that a good one? Yeah. Well, we're just, as you said, I think it's that, we're just being human. We're talking to each other as normal in inverted commas, whatever normal is. I think also asking your team, what strengths do they bring? It's focusing on what they do, not what they don't do, which a lot of people fall in that trap of going, well, you should have done it this way. Okay, without really asking what happened there. So reframing the question sometimes. Where do you think you are most useful in this team? I think that's quite a nice question to ask of a team. What does success look like for you? Because if you're doing it as a team, you can see how the team are aligned and whether they feel that they belong. And I think that's the key. We have to feel like that we do belong to something, that we are adding some value and that we are special, if you like, because we are all individual and all very special. But that comes back to that recognition that I exist in this team. And I think, how will you know that you matter to this team is a great question to ask of yourself, but also of your team. Because if you can't answer that, then you may not feel motivated or engaged as much as you possibly could be. So thinking about, and I think it's a brave, courageous manager that will take time out and explore this with their team. Be curious about it, explore it and just stop and think about, what do we want? What impact do we want to have as a team? And then people can find their lane, as I call it. They get aligned to the bit. Oh, I like that bit. They get aligned to that and they find their lane in that. And therefore they can make sure that they are still contributing because they now have a purpose. They can see why, their why. And, you've done loads of work around that as well. And you talk about that really eloquently on the guest you had, what I listened to, about understanding why we're doing what we're doing.
Oh, that was with Anil Matthew.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
yes,
from the
yes.
LHS. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important that whatever level you are within a business, hate levels, but just use, it's the term that's used, but whatever level you are, I think people really have to understand how what they do plays a critical role into the objectives of the company. And if you can get people to understand that, very few people come into work deliberately set out to do it wrong. No one comes
No.
in to deliberately be a disaster. People
No.
genuinely want to be good at what they do. And if they understand how that rolls up into the overall objectives, I think you'll get more from the people. I really do.
Yeah, but you've got to be able to communicate that well. And I think that's another thing as to how do we communicate our intent. So, as you said, if we have this lovely mission vision statement at the very top of the organisation, that's great if you can see the behaviours and the attitude being demonstrated alongside it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just false. It's just like, well, that's
Yeah.
lovely.
Tick
That's,
box.
yeah, exactly. Oh, we've done that all right. So I think it comes down a lot more. And for those great team managers that I've seen over the years that have embraced this and gone, oh, that's different. It's not textbook. I just need to ensure that what do my people understand about what that vision, mission, whatever you want to call it, actually means to them. Because if there's a disconnect, then they're not going to feel like they belong. They're not going to feel that they can have some autonomy to be able to master anything in the jobs that they're doing. So therefore, I might need to take a look at my leadership, my management style, so that I can therefore adjust and adapt. Laura talks on our podcast a lot. She's talks, and I'm not taking this as her word, around having that foxy mindset, as she calls it. And she talks about being foxy. And it's just amazing to hear her talk about how the fox, when you look at, combine it with the world of nature, has had to evolve and adapt to its surroundings. And so therefore, that's really, if we take the lessons from nature and apply it to the world of work today, there's a lot of that going on. We can't just stay stuck. And as she calls it, panderish, where we don't move for 18 hours every day and have our food delivered to us. We're not going to go anywhere, right? Whereas if we are foxy, we forage for it. We find different ways. We're smart. We ask questions. We don't just stay stuck. We're always evolving and moving on and looking for bigger, better ways of doing things. And yet at the same time, acknowledging the contribution that people have made so far. And I think that's what's really important when you're working with teams, to engage them, to know that they can make a difference. They can put in their ideas. They may not all get taken on board, but if the ground rules, if you like, of how we work around here has been set really clearly, then you'll get more input from people to improve upon what they're currently doing and use their knowledge and expertise, because we don't know it all right.
13-time Shingo Prize winner Dr. Jeffrey Leiker and Toyota Kata author Mike Rother have created the Improvement Kata and Coaching Kata online course. This inexpensive, compact program is designed to transform your thinking and approach, making you a highly skilled learner and coach. Engage in deliberate practice to turbocharge your progress. You also get lifetime access to the materials, including all of the bonus interviews. Why pay up to 10 times the price elsewhere, listening to some consultant, when you can gain direct insights from the masters themselves? Skip the rest and go with the best. Join us today and embark on your journey to excellence. Just click on the link below to start your journey.
Exactly. And if they feel listened to, they'll get their brain ticking. If people think about more things and you get more and more and more, and it grows and grows and grows.
Yeah.
Lean has a lot of Japanese words. And when we talk about language and we talk about talking in the way people understand, you don't need to use the Japanese words. The Japanese words are great to make it sound really fun, exciting and sexy, but you can just use the translations. Now, one of the Japanese words is gemba. Now gemba, did you drop your pen?
Yeah. I did drop my pen then.
I thought you'd fainted.
I know I was going to write this down. I love this. I didn't know about this until you told me, and I went, oh, I love that. Let me go and find out some more. Yeah.
Yeah. So gemba means go to the spot where the work happens. Basically, that's what it translates to. Go to where the work is taking place. Now, one of the best practices to introduce, if you're just starting out with a continuous improvement culture and you want to do some really basic lean, having a daily gemba walk is a superb way of doing this, because what you do is you get yourself, your management team, some associates, some frontline workers, you go down onto the shop floor and you walk around and you just walk around the Gemba. You see where the work's happening, how it's working. They can learn from the experience. It's a fantastic way of growing people's confidence. And you just ask questions. And one of the things that I liked, my personal best practice when I do this, is I don't go up to people and ask them closed questions, or I don't go up to them and tell them they're not doing something right. I will go up to people and I'll say, "Hi, I'm Matt. Talk to me about what you're doing. Talk to me about how you feel about working here. Talk to me about the things that you would improve." And I always start the sentences with "talk to me about." And I find that it just allows people just that freedom to speak and open up. It's such a great tool. I love it so much. Nothing annoys me more when I go into a site and I say, "What time's your Gemba walk?" And they go, "Oh, we've cancelled it today because we're really busy." I'm like, "Oh, give up." I just give up.
No. I know, because it appears that therefore you don't care enough about us. That comes back to that, do you feel that you matter to this team? And if you're not doing your Gemba walk because you're too busy doing something else that you probably hadn't planned or prepped for, which you maybe should have done as a leader, right? That's part of what you get paid for, right? Is to pre-plan and a bit more proactive, is to still have it, because otherwise you go, "Oh, well, obviously I don't matter to you then." So, because you just disbanded the one thing that brings the team together every morning. I worked for, not naming any names, but a big supermarket that was setting up a new distribution centre down in the south. And they were very hot on their huddles, as they called them. And that was obviously from the same as you were saying, that same lean principle of getting everybody together, finding out what's going on. And as you said, the questions you ask. And this is where taking a coaching approach comes into it, because like you said, talk to me about, my great one, go tell me more. Oh, that's interesting. Help me understand what that means to you. And I said, you're just reframing a question into getting somebody to tell you first, because then if you can understand where their brain is, what their thinking is, the way they're sort of explaining it to you, all the time you're gathering this information, you're understanding it from their map of the world, which means that then you can choose how you then pitch your next answer or your next question, rather than just keep hell-bent on, "This is what I'm going to do and I'm just going to do it this way. It's the highway or no way" type approach. That doesn't work. So that ability to ask great open questions, tell me when, or how does that impact on you, or what difference does that make to you? What do you love about your job? Help me understand what gets you up in the morning, and it's all these things, but tell me more. I go, "Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more." And I love it because people just go, "Oh,
They come alive.
You do want to listen." Yeah.
Brilliant.
Because I've bothered.
Yep.
Yeah, I genuinely care. But I think you can't fake that. I think, and it comes back to that being your authentic self, being true to who you are. There's a level of vulnerability that goes with that, because, as you said, new managers sometimes coming into a role think they have to be a certain way, and they don't. And you can stand up for, yourself and be confident in saying, "I'm not sure. Can you help me understand what made you think that?" So it's a great tool to manage upwards as it is to manage across and down. So, yeah.
I think some of the best leaders that I've worked for would know the answer sometimes to the problem. So they have the solution, but they won't tell me the solution. They will lead me to come back with it.
Yeah.
So they'll talk me through and lay the trail of breadcrumbs, if you like. And I come up with it myself, and I own it more then, because I think I've owned that solution. I've got the idea.
Exactly. And that lifts your confidence. You feel that you're valued, you have been listened to, you've made a difference, and you're learning. Whereas if somebody's always telling you, they're keeping you in that childlike state, if you like, well, you shouldn't be doing that because I'm, the parent in this relationship. Actually, no, it doesn't work that way in the world of work. But I think the managers and leaders that I've seen over the years, and the people that I've done some one-to-one coaching with as well, and I've done thousands and thousands of hours of coaching with people, and you're so right, that ability to give them the solution, because in my space as a coach, I always 100% believe that people do have the solution to whatever issue, whatever problem, whatever concern they've got. It's just buried really deep sometimes. And in my role, I'm not there to tell them anything in that coaching space, which is when I do leadership training. This is where it molds into being a group coaching approach, if you like. There are some things I do tell them because they don't know it, but actually it always turns into a coaching question. I can't give feedback without saying, so what do you think you might do with that? How does that land for you? It's like I'm always moving them forward with that. And I think that's what's really important, is to be able to not make it about you, make it all about them. And therefore, because leaders get their recognition from other places, and if they're always looking to be seen to be the best, or oh my god, you're amazing, or that's their ego driving them. They're not there for the people, as I always call it. That's probably why I never did become the HR director at the time.
I think in your role though, being like a consultant, if you like, where you're going into these different companies, it's a really good perspective to have, because you're not going to understand everything that goes on. You don't know the processes, you don't know the solutions, but you're asking the right questions that enables people to come up with the solutions, and that's going to be much more longevity than it would be if you just gave them the answer and told them to go away and do it. It's going to grow, isn't it?
Absolutely, and they own it then. Like you said, if you're that person sort of laid the breadcrumbs out for you and you came to your own solution, you're more likely to think bigger next time and go back and do it, because your confidence is high. Because you go, oh my God, I was able to sort that out for myself. Yes, you were, because one, you're more than capable. It's just sometimes we just need reminding of the strengths that we've got, the skills that we bring, the levels where we can actually be operating because of messaging from the past. All of that can actually push us down. So, lifting people back up, as I always call it, and just reminding them of the great stuff they bring and how they apply those skills to maybe an area where they're not as great yet. And it's not yet, it's not ever, it's just you're not there yet. That's okay, because then that will enable you to explore, learn, grow, develop, which is the world that we live in, right? We want it to be better than it was a moment ago.
We are all remarkable. We just need to sometimes bring that out of people as leaders. So I'm going to do something really clever now. See if you can work out what I've done.
Go on.
Talk to me about wellness coaching, Debbie. You see that? You see what I did?
I love that. I could definitely, that's one of the questions I get asked a lot. What is this wellness coaching? And my answer is always the same. It's when you are in true alignment with who you are. That's it. When you're in alignment with your values, your purpose, your being, your past doesn't need to define you. It can shape you, and it brings you to this moment in time. But actually, this bit around being able to think of, who am I today? Who am I now? Because we don't stay the same. And we do have experiences that shape us, but that doesn't mean we have to stay stuck there. So when we look at the foundations that we create for ourselves, is really important to be able to live what we call this compassionate existence. So if I can look after my whole self, if I can look at my whole self with the 4 cornerstones, which are from a physical, mental, emotional and spiritual perspective, and I have a harmony. I struggle with the word balance, because I don't think we ever will have a balance in anything. Whereas if we create more of a harmony where it can merge, and there is this, okay, I need to focus in on my emotional well-being today because I haven't done that. But if we're consciously thinking about how have I topped myself up in each of those 4 areas, then we can live what we call this compassionate existence, so that we're interconnected on all levels. So we're not just focusing on our physical, we're actually impacting on our mental, emotional and spiritual as well. And I don't mean, spiritual means different things to different people. So it's finding out what it is that we use the word nourish, what nourishes you every day. So what enables you to shift into some sort of action mode that enables you to start to think about when you can create your foundation, if you like, to embrace opportunities, to look for times to be able to transform and to be able to ground yourself in who you are today. And I suppose it looks at all the things that make you you. As we said earlier, we're all unique. We all have special things and gifts that we bring. And it's that ability to just stop and think about what that is. And in wellness coaching, we create that safe space for people to be curious. And that's all I ever want people to be, is just be curious. Let's explore what that means for you, not me. I mean, I do coaching all the time, and I walk away from a coaching session. I don't actually have any actions to do from that. And that's how it should be. It should be the person walks away thinking about what they could do differently, thinking about how they feel about doing things, what's their beliefs about themselves now, so that they go away and reflect on it and come back to the next session and we explore what they're learning all of the time. So, because I believe that, when you put your mind to something and you have the support with you, I always say in coaching, I'll walk alongside you as you explore this new world that you're sort of stepping into. And I'll be here all the way along the way as long as you need me, because that's really important that people feel like they're supported. Because, I've learned over the years that I may be the only person that believes in that individual. I may be the only person that 100% know that they can. That makes me quite sad sometimes because people don't go, wow, who have you got around you that's your supporter, or your raving fan? And they go, well, I haven't really got anybody. And I go, whoa, okay, let's work on that then. Let's explore that. And as long as you're exploring it with curiosity, you don't have to make any decisions because it's always your choice. I'm not telling you to do things. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to. It's always a choice. And when we're in wellness coaching, that's one of the things we explore. We ask people questions. What would you like to see differently? Thinking about your values. Are they still aligned to who you are based on your experiences that take you to the day to day? And then you can explore what those values mean to you. We also get people to think about, what do they want? What do they really want in their life? And it can be anything. Because again, everybody is unique. We all have different things that we want in our lives. So having that space to just explore, and I say, there's no idea is a silly idea. Oh, I don't think I need that. Well, who says? And that comes back to messaging that they're hearing. And then asking, what do I really want to be doing? So you might brainstorm 20 or 30 things that you really, really want. And then we normally then break it down and go, out of those 20, let's pick your top 10. Okay, let's explore them. Now let's pick your top 5. Let's explore them. It doesn't mean we're not going to do the other 15. It just means we're focusing on, let's make one change at a time, because if you start in one area, it will always impact on all of the other areas anyway. I just need to get people to start the movement forward from where they are to where do they want to be.
Eat the elephant in bite-sized chunks.
That's the one. Yeah, I think it was always the quote. I don't know who said that. I'm not very good at names at the moment. Is it a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step?
Yeah.
I can't remember who said that. But that's what we do in wellness coaching. We start wherever you're at. We don't go backwards. We're not counsellors. I'm certainly not a counsellor. I don't go back to explore. I ask you to tell me what's got you here. And then we take the lessons that have got you here and making sure that people are really clear on, okay, but I better not do that again. So we break the patterns sometimes in people's behaviour that helps them see it. But because it's so new and it's so fresh, it certainly gets them into their stretch zone. And then we work with people, as I said, around the whole person, not just one part of it. And you'll see that, things around making sure you have nutrition and sleep well and rest and all of that. It's about creating a harmony in your life where you're doing things that are important to you. You might be giving back. You're not giving everything of you. We also say about, before you can help others, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
So what have you done for you today? And I know I do my thoughts for the day every day on my Wishfish Instagram post, and they're mainly to get people to just stop and think and pause and go, oh, have I done that for myself today? Not sure. And if that's enough to just make you stop rather than go on autopilot through the motions, and makes you go, oh, maybe I will do that. Okay, it's up to you if you do, but it's noticing then the difference it's made to you, which is really important.
I love those daily posts that you put out. I look at them every single day. So if you follow Debbie on social media, you'll see that she posts every morning. It's Debbie's daily thought, and they're brilliant. They are so good.
Thank you.
And you even stuck with them over Christmas, which is equally impressive.
I did. Yeah, I just thought I did the countdown to Christmas, which I didn't do last year, but I thought, I'm going to do that. And I thought, I'm going to have to, it was important for me because I do them as much for myself as a bit of my check-in, my routine in the morning. is to just sit really quietly. And this is all to do with connection and wellness and being true to myself, so that I can just take a moment. I get up early, super early normally, and just be really quiet. I've got my 2 cats that look at me as if I'm mad. And it becomes part of my ritual. And I just sit really quietly and think, what should I post about today? And it literally is things that I've either heard or people that I've worked with that have just been such inspiring to me that I've gone, I'm going to write about that. There was one that really hit home where one of my clients is going through quite a crazy time, but the words that she came out with after working with her for over a year was grace and strength. And it was just, oh my God, it just made me go goosebumps. So I asked her permission if I could, without obviously breaking confidence, was just say, can I use that as one of my daily thoughts? And the response I got was huge. So that's all down to her, because they were her words, not mine, but the words around it were mine as to what you can do to find grace and strength in all that you do. So, yeah,
brilliant. It's
amazing.
really good. And sending them out first thing in the morning as well, it really helps. It
Yeah.
helps me sometimes. I look at them, I'm like,
Good.
I'm ready to go now. Let's do this. Let's have it.
I feel motivated, engaged.
I do, and motivation is so important as well because, particularly, I don't know if this is just me, but I've found it over the last couple of weeks where we've had the bad snow in the UK and it's been very cold and I can't afford to put the heating on because it's so damn expensive.
Yes.
I find it really hard to stay motivated sometimes. I'm hungry, I'm cold. My brain just will not allow me to concentrate on something for more than a couple of minutes. Is that normal? Is it just me?
No, you're quite normal. We all do that. And I suppose I can't motivate you to do whatever you want to do per se. I can create the environment for you, or we can create the environment around us. So if we know that if we're sitting at our desks and not moving, we are more likely to feel the cold and therefore lose concentration or focus, because then we're focusing on what we haven't got rather than what we have got. So that ability to catch it, as I always call it, and just stop and think about what's the environment that I've created around myself. Do I need to go and put another jumper on? Do I need to walk? Whatever it may be, it's again your choice. What's going to make me feel good in that moment, so that I can not feel cold and not focus and just go, oh my God, I just want to roll up in my bed. Maybe take your laptop and just snuggle up into the duvet. Who knows?
It's 2023 now. We can do stuff like that.
You can do stuff like that. But it's it's really interesting because, as I said, we can provide the environment that enables people to feel motivated, but we cannot motivate people per se. And I think that's what's really important, because we have to tap into what people want, really. When we think about the autonomy, as we mentioned earlier, that sense of being in control of something so that I have a drive and determination to achieve, I think is really important. And it's on my terms, which is where a lot of the coaching space works. That belonging, which we've talked a lot about, belonging to something, feeling like I'm part of something, makes me feel secure in that moment. A feeling of competence, the way that I can master something, I can be good at something, and we can all be good at something. So it's making sure that I'm accomplished in that moment. And then lastly, it's that meaning, having that sense of understanding and care about the job that I'm doing. I was really fortunate to sort of step into different roles. If I didn't enjoy what I was doing, it didn't light me up, it wasn't giving me what I wanted, I would move on. And everybody said, oh, but it's a safe job. Yeah, but I'm not happy. And I always trusted the universe and went, something will come up, whether it's, working in the local supermarket. I was still working with people, which is my passion. It really didn't matter.
Such a brave decision to do that. It's, real credit to you. I really respect that, because people can get stuck in a rut.
We've had a couple of people that have been in the company like, oh my God, 30 years. And I go, wow, my sister worked for her company for 30 years, but she loved it because she kept moving around. So she didn't mind that, but it was the same, big company. But we do go into some organisations and you just think you are just stuck. And it doesn't matter what you do, they just don't want to move on. But I think that's a choice. And then when you coach somebody around moving on, there's all the fear, confidence of starting over is just not there because they've got comfortable. So to step them out, which is, what happened in the aviation industry, we did lots of work within the aviation, and that just stopped through the pandemic. and people were having to find different jobs and transferable skills. So focusing on what, again, coming back to what can you bring, what do you do, getting yourself a good career coach who helps you shape your CV so that you're showing yourself up in the best way possible, showing out, as we call it.
Yeah, I think you learn more. That refresh, that go again. It's sometimes it's just like revitalising. It's an amazing feeling.
It is, yeah. I think the longest I stayed was at Telewest, actually, and that was, I think, 6 years. So I hence walked away with my first ever really decent redundancy package.
Brilliant.
Set up my company, yeah. So hey.
Yeah, there you go. So that's the universe, though, isn't it? That it was meant to be, because it allowed you to open another part of your life, which you've gone on and thrived in. Clearly, it's been brilliant.
Love it. Yeah.
Right, should we have some fun?
Go on then.
We are going to play the famous yes/no game.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm going to ask you a series of questions as quick as I possibly can.
All right.
And you need to answer them, but you cannot say yes or no.
Oh, okay.
So there's 60 seconds,
Right.
and we'll see if you can last the full 60 seconds.
All right, let's give it a go.
So 60 seconds on the clock, please. Do not say yes or no, Debbie. If you do, you are out. Are you ready?
I am.
Do you think you would be a good ninja?
Oh my God, absolutely.
Do you ever narrate to yourself inside your head as if you're in a movie?
All the time.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Do you sing in the shower?
Oh, that would not be good for anybody
Why not?
because I'm a rubbish singer.
Are you?
I am.
Have you ever had a crush on a cartoon character?
Possibly.
Which one?
It's got to be a Captain America.
Captain America. I remember Captain America. Do you have an embarrassing nickname?
I used to.
What was it?
It was Martian
Why?
because my surname is Green.
Oh, very clever. I love it. Have you ever ordered takeout to avoid doing the dishes?
All the time.
You've done it, Debbie. You lasted 60 seconds and you didn't say yes or no.
Oh my God, that was hard work.
Super impressed. Do you know, I don't know if it's harder answering the questions or trying to read the questions.
Great questions, though. Oh my God, I had to really think then. You were, that was like, wow, I need a coffee now.
Yeah, well, the trick is trying to lure you into a sense of security and then quickly whack you with a yes/no question straight away afterwards. But you did really well. 60 seconds, you smashed it.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Thank you for that. It was good fun.
Oh my God, that was good fun. I like that.
So what's next for Debbie then? Tell me what's going on. Where can people learn more about you and see what you're doing?
So obviously you can come onto our website, which is Wishfish Coaching and Development, and you'll see all the programs that we run for people. We're also, obviously, the Secrets from a Coach podcast is in its 3rd year now.
It's brilliant as well.
Well, thank you very much. And Laura and I are just super proud of it. So we're just loving every moment of it, having, put something together from out of lockdown where it was just sort of 30-minute lunch and learns, and then realised people were going back to work. So we transferred it to pods and we're loving it. So we've got some stuff that's going on there, and you can find us on all the usual platforms of under Secrets from a Coach and see us from there. We're also sort of doing our spa series as well at the moment. Where
What, the shop?
Yeah, the shop. Yeah, no. I love
Trolley
that.
dash.
Spa without the R. Yes, I love that. Quick. Where we're doing sort of 4 60-minute sessions for teams or individuals, depending on what they want, where it gives them, if you like, the spa series, where they can just take a moment to quieten their inner critic and dial up their inner coach. They can have a look at what all imposter syndrome and self-sabotage is all about, how to value yourself and knowing your worth, and language that's good for you. So that's our series that we're putting on for teams. We've got a few people that are coming through for that, and there's a special offer on that at the moment. And then obviously individually, we're doing lots of coaching with people at this moment about starting the new year off. Where do they want to go? How do they want to finish it? So yeah, lots of things going on at the moment.
You are very busy.
We are busy, actually, which is fab. We love it. Absolutely love it.
And I love your website, by the way. It is the most
Oh, thank
friendly, warm, it's just a really nice website. It's very well written. So check
Oh,
out.
thank
What's
you.
the address for your website?
So it's www.wishfish.org.uk.
Check it out. It's really good. When you say that, do you always feel like you've said too many W's? Because I always do. When I do say
www. Yeah, they all
www.
roll into one.
I don't even say www anymore in case I say too many. Brilliant. Well, thanks for joining us today, Debbie. You've been an
It's been a
amazing
pleasure.
guest.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure, Matt. Thank you.
Some key takeaways from today's conversation with Debbie. I found today's session really, really interesting, and again, another eye-opening one. Think about your people. Think about what makes them tick. Make them feel important. They're just not another number on the payroll. These are real people, have real lives. You never know what's going on in someone's personal life. So inquire, ask how they are, ask what they're doing, ask what that you could do to help them with anything they're doing in their life. Take an interest in your people. That wellness piece is so important. Ask them open-ended questions. Ask them questions like, talk to me about, or tell me how you do this, or how would you do that? Ask their opinion. People who do the job tend to know the most about the job. Really take that interest and break down that management barrier, that parent-child relationship. It doesn't have to exist anymore. We're all human beings. We all get dressed the same way. We all put one leg in before the other when we get dressed. I could have used some different analogies, but I won't. You know what I mean, right? We are all the same. So break down those barriers. If in your organisation you have one of those organisation charts in your reception like we spoke about earlier, please do me a favour. Don't have management at the top and then frontline associates at the bottom. Don't do that. Spin that triangle, that pyramid up the other way. The most important people in your organisation are the people that actually do the day-to-day work. Without them, you wouldn't be anywhere. It wouldn't happen. So please don't make managers feel more important than frontline people, because they're not, okay? 100% not. Be foxy leaders. As Debbie pointed out, a foxy leader is the way to be. If you missed the bit about foxy leadership, you need to wind back and have a listen, because of I want to be a foxy leader, as I'm sure you do. Thank you so much to Debbie. It's been a fantastic session. Another really, really good one. That brings us to an end of this episode of the Ever Celine podcast. Thanks to Debbie Green for joining us today and providing a fascinating insight into employee engagement, motivation, and how these elements are critical to creating a safe, positive, and productive environment where it's okay to fail, learn, and adapt, all of which are so important when developing your organization's continuous improvement culture. If you like the sound of today's show, and I know you did, and you would like to hear more, please subscribe and follow the Ever Celine podcast at everceline.com. where you will also find episodes that you might have missed. Also, if you're on the socials, check out the Ever Celine podcast, give us a follow, and let me know about your lean efforts, because I would love to hear all about them. Thanks so much, and I'll see you on the next episode. And don't forget, Ever Celine, you know it makes sense. The Ever Celine podcast is researched, produced, and recorded by Matt Sims. Visit everceline.com to find out more.